Taking me coffee.
All right, Dr. Live, so.
Yeah.
We're starting. Good evening, so called to order special meeting of the Bridgeport Board of Education. Today is January 29th, and it is 5:31. So on the agenda tonight, I'm just. That's all. In attendance, I'll do that. In attendance, I'm Jennifer Perez, board chair. We have Joseph Sokolovic, Albert Benahan, Louis Medina, Robert Traber in person, and online we have Ms. Baptiste Perez, Ms. Casimir, and that's all online. Ms. Baptiste Perez, you have a question?
Yes, with regard to one agenda item, I had sent you an email and I would like to know if we're going to receive state guidance or will the state ultimately select who's going to be the next board member? Given that the state would ultimately select or give confirmation for the next superintendent, as well as our holdup with our lottery right now is because we're waiting for state permission. So since the state is intervening with so many levels, my question, and whether you're going to actually reach out to them, is when will we hear back as to the state in terms of how they will guide us in this process for a new board member?
Thank you for that question. I have alerted the state of the resignation and let them know. I have not heard back from them. According to the resolution, there was no guidelines on if a board member resigns. So we're just waiting to hear back from them.
But yeah, I understand that. However, because the process, especially what's going on now with our lottery, and we're waiting for the state now, I'd greatly appreciate if we can get some written guidance in terms of sharing with the board what you're writing to the state with this resignation, as well as the state's written opinion back. Thank you.
Can you clarify about the lottery?
The state, we're waiting for state confirmation before we can go through with that. And so the point is that in terms of different aspects of what's going on in the district, the state is intervening and providing additional guidance. And I figured that given that part of the state's intervention with the school district is because of the board's historical dysfunction, that the fact that we have a vacancy, the state would also want to intervene or provide guidance at this time.
We'll wait to further respond and I'll get back to you on that one. Mr. Sokolovic?
Yes, since we got counsel here, and I'm sure he's read the resolution, does the State Board of Education place any restrictions on board governance other than what's written in the document?
State has no jurisdiction over filling this vacancy at this time. They would have to take additional action to intervene. I've seen no evidence of their desire to do that.
Thank you. Now, can we get on with business? I think Mr. Traber had something.
Do you have a question?
Mr. Anastasia answered my question.
So what we're doing tonight is we have an agenda item of discussion and possible action to begin the process of filling the vacant Board of Ed seat left by Dr. Bain.
So move.
We're not moving anything right now, or we're just discussing in person, and well, we can make a motion, but then we have time. We need to debate it first, or talk about it. Andre Woodson has joined the meeting virtually as well. I'm waiting for Tim to come back in to see if he can email you what we're looking at in person. Actually, is it online? It might be in your portal. Oh, yes, they're in your portal. Online in your portal, there's the notification, the vacancy posting from the last vacancy that happened. And we're gonna use that as a template and just hopefully tonight we just change some dates and go from there. Okay. With that said, go ahead, Mr. Calvin.
Madam Chair, yes, understand that this is a template, this has already been vetted by legal the last go around, and it's basically the same situation as Mr. Macro, the same language, so it's not the language that's in any question. If I misspeak, Mr. Anastasia.
Here you go.
It's just, Everyone that reviews it like that, similar. You want to take a minute to read it? Yeah, well, and seeing as we're under state scrutiny and the thing we have been mandated by the state to is attend training as board members. I think it would be beneficial to move forward this as expeditiously as possible and not take the entire 30 days. I'd like to suggest that we put out the feelers for about a week because people already know we're looking for a board member. We'll get plenty of responses and have a selection in approximately 10 days.
Mr. Stassi?
There's one concern I have. That is, I need to know when the current term of the retiring individual expires.
Mhm.
Is that at the end of November of 25?
27.
Okay, then I have a problem. Because there's 4 different documents that purport to discuss or govern how long the appointment you make will serve. Document number 1 is Connecticut General Statute 10-219. And that says that if a vacancy occurs in the office of the local board of ed, blah, 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 such vacancy will be filled by the remaining members of the board, and then it says until the next regular town election. Okay? However, and then it says at which election a successor shall be elected for the unexpired portion of the term. But this has an exception in it. It says unless otherwise provided by charter. If you go to the Bridgeport Charter, Chapter 15, Section 1D says, if a vacancy arises, board elects to serve for the balance of the term vacated. Okay? Balance of the term is not December of 25. Now, there is an exception to that.
I think
And the exception to that would be if you fail to do your duty and or exercise your jurisdiction within 30 days. And the mayor, as the chief executive, got to fill it after that. And that's Connecticut General Statute 7. Connecticut General Statute 7-107. And that says if the mayor, as chief executive, fills it, it's only until the next municipal election. Now, what document is your bylaws? Your bylaws accurately, and it's bylaw 9270, which accurately reflects that if the mayor fills it, it will only be until the next municipal election. But it says the person appointed by the board will also only be until the next municipal election, and that violates the charter. So your bylaws would be wrong. Now, it's just handed by Commissioner Sokolovich a new fund that we're proposing, and that does say, okay, thank you. You gave it to me as well. I made the mistake.
Reading, that was the one from 2 years ago.
Thank you. But anyway, it was a nice education. And the key to this one is, as you well know, some of you have been around for prior vacancies, and you really have to act within 30 days of the vacancy occurring, and it occurs when the letter of resignation is filed with the city clerk. So you need to know when that starts, because you have a drop dead date or you lose your power. The mayor does it, and it's short. So, thank you.
Go ahead, finish your.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't done yet. We just have. Yeah, so I would like to move, as I was saying, I would like to move as expeditiously as possible. We don't have to take I apologize, the entire 30 days to resolve this, and I don't think we should, because we gotta get these trainings off, and we don't wanna have 2 trainings, 3 trainings, depending on how long it takes the board member. So I would like to suggest putting it out tomorrow for approximately 7 days, and then interviews within 10 to 12 days. How people feel about that?
Mr. Traver, you have a question? Or
Speakable content could be.
I had a comment just to clarify for the sake of the viewing public what Mr. Anastasi was raising, which is very he very eloquently trying to explain the confusion that arose in 2023 on this board. This is what we gave Mr. Anastasi were two documents. One was a copy of the document that we used to fill the last vacancy, and then we abridged it and used that as the basis of writing a document that we're going to propose tonight, based on the confusion between the different charters and bylaws that Mr. Anastasi articulated, and to make sure that we are in compliance with the law, the bylaws, the charter, everything. And that says that this position will be filled until the end of the term that the person who just resigned. And so that's what we did. And so we are in compliance with the law and our policy, and
Actually, you're in compliance with the law, but not with your policy, because your policy does not distinguish between whether you appoint or the mayor appoints. 9270, we're gonna have to amend, unless you've already amended it in versions that are.
right.
So
The ones that's online,
clear.
It should be clear.
it says,
Should be clear.
That needs to be
it
clear.
says until the next regular.
We suffered great confusion in 2023 when a number of us were put on and told incorrectly that we all had to run in 2023. And then we found out, so we have, for the public's sake, clarified it. And this position will go for 2.5 more years. And so I just would say, give a little more time for people to submit, Joe. It's the middle of this week. I would give it to the end of next week.
Mr. Woodson?
I have a question for
Yes.
for Mr. Sakalovich. I know he's big on the public having their voice on who's voting and what's going on from the Board of Ed. Why is he in such a rush for a small portion of the constituency to have a voice on who gets elected?
I would happily be able to, I'll be happy to repeat myself. Rush is because of the dysfunction of the prior leadership, having us on the state scrutiny for takeover, we have been obligated to carry out certain things such as training for board members. This next person will be a board member who is going to be subjected to that training. Rather than waste board resources training us now, then training them later, we can all get trained at the same time.
But the leadership that the governor was talking about was you.
All right. So
He wasn't.
He was talking about.
I can't. It's
So
true.
I'm
I mean,
gonna-
I'm not saying anything controversial. This is what was said. I'm bringing up what the governor said. He said there was a problem with the leadership.
You don't want to
He said-
respond. You're on the floor.
He said it's a problem with the leadership. He was speaking of, and he pointed to Sakalovich because Sakalovich was sitting there snapping his fingers, bringing
That's true.
attention to himself.
I accept that.
So,
All right.
he was.
So
So,
we're
you
gonna-
know, I mean,
I'll-
if we're not under good leadership now, what gives us the right to pick somebody to
You-
City law, the state statute,
So hold on,
the law.
please do not get on the floor. Mr. Woodson, this is per our charter for statutes. This is our responsibility as board members, part of our role. So we will move forward with selecting a person. We will today set a timeline for that. If you choose not to, because if individual board members choose not to vote on this, that is fine. You could abstain from it. Ms. Baptiste Perez.
I'd just like to follow up with the comment from Mr. Woodson, is that given that I understand there's a timeline or we need to have mandatory training, there's no mandatory timeline as long as it's done within this school year. So therefore, given the historical dysfunction, and I know some board members have been historically part of this dysfunction, for many administrations, it may be in the best interest to have as many members of the public have the opportunity to apply and use the latest timeline as possible to select the board member. And I understand some members don't want the mayor to appoint anybody, but to utilize the time So that way, every member of the public knows that they've had their 30 days to apply, to be interviewed, and to potentially be selected. In the past, this board has selected the new board appointed member the same day as the interviews. Therefore, there's no reason legally or from the state that will inhibit or prohibit this board from giving the full timeline. We can communicate it to all the PACs, show up to meetings, and that way give every member of this public, not just members who are part of the parents, but every citizen, every resident of Bridgeport the opportunity to learn of this. And by rushing it, you can limit the audience, and I think it'd be in the best interest that we give it open the timeline as open as possible while still permitting the board to select who they want as a new board member, but keeping that time frame open. Again, as the governor expressed, this has happened from a lousy leadership in every form. And I think in order to prove that we're no longer lousy, we should utilize the full time. Thank you.
All right. So,
Well, just let me know next week.
you have your hand up?
Okay.
So, let's set a time frame. We have until the 28th to select someone. The resignation was put in yesterday through town clerk's office. So,
Madam Chair,
yes,
in the interest of time, I'd like to make a motion to for a period of 9 days to advertise for the position, and then the following 2 days to conduct interview, have a special meeting for the interviews. Second.
9 days, what day would that be? That'd be, end up Friday, if I'm mistaken. That'd be Friday, and so we're not gonna do the interviews on Saturday, Sunday. You said next 2 days.
2 days, yeah, no, 2 days following,
Okay.
so that would be the Monday.
Which would be a regular board meeting.
We can do interviews at a regular board meeting, or we could do it on the Tuesday following. Either one.
February 10th or the 11th.
What's your motion then?
Okay, what's the Tuesday?
Today's February 10th.
And yes, hold on.
Tuesday's February 11th.
Hold on, let me bring up my calendar.
I think. We have a board meeting in it.
Yes. So you're saying by the 9th, by the 7th, that's 9 days from now,
Yes, thank you.
is that right?
One,
The 9th, the 9 days would be the 7th, I'm sorry, the 7th. For saying the timeline to apply,
to apply.
and then the following week on the
Tuesday.
on the 11th, God. Help me here. You want to conduct interviews.
Correct.
Is there,
Second,
and that's seconded by Mr. Venus. So the motion is to have the vacancy posting from now until, or tomorrow until the 7th, and then interviews on the 11th. It was seconded by Mr. Medina. Any debate on that? All right. Ms. Betsy Perez.
I'd just like to say, I think that's a terrible idea. I think that goes along the lines of the political nepotism, favoritism, and people informing others to apply to the role. That goes against the interests of the public and probably members of this community here in Bridgeport that would love to join. That's not going to get the immediate notice of when to apply and how to apply. It indicates to me, and it may indicate to the state, that this board is just trying to rush the process and is not really equipped to actually take the steps necessary to fully vet and to fully make this an open process for someone else. And so that kind of disruption, I think, is disingenuous, not even to give it 2 weeks. We were never in a rush like that in the past. And then I would like to see something did we even choose a trainer or the mandatory training schedule? that we're rushing
part of the
to
agenda.
actually, no, this is part of my debate. We don't have a trainer. We don't have a mandatory training schedule. So rushing this without even saying like, oh, we have this timeline to abide by is deceptive. And it just goes to show the type of lousy leadership and why the state is intervening.
Thank you. I believe the last time you had about a week as well, but go ahead, Mr. Traber.
Yeah, this is consistent with my recollection of the schedules that we went through in previous billing, when we did this in the spring of 23, after I joined in March of 23. And in the spring of 23, we did it just about as quickly as this. And in August of 23, we did it just about as quickly as this. So I'm not sure what you're referring to, Ms. Baptiste Perez, that you should recall anything different. This is consistent with the 4 times we filled vacancies in the winter, spring of 23, winter, spring, summer of 23. So I think we're behaving in a consistent manner. We want to move forward forthrightly. And I think we should just reserve the possibility that we may need an extra night to do interviews, depending on how many people apply. And that would be it.
Madam Chair, a point of clarification.
Go for it.
Based off of what Mr. Traber said, the very distinguishing factors are: one, we're in the midst of a state intervention, partial takeover due to inadequate leadership. So that's one of the main reasons. But two, also the governor just critiqued the Bridgeport Board of Education, as well as the city of Bridgeport, identifying it as lousy leadership. So based on those 2 criticisms alone, that we should probably abide and give more time so that way the people of Bridgeport may participate. It's very different from before, as well as leadership.
I think giving them 9 days and the posting will be in the paper tomorrow or by Friday. That'll give ample time to interview or to apply. And then we'll have the weekend to look over the resumes, verify that they met the requirements. And then on the 11th, we can go ahead and start the interviews. Doesn't mean we have to vote on somebody the 11th. In the past, you took a special meeting to vote on a different day. You had the interviews and then went into executive session and announced your selection in the following meeting. Mr. Woodson?
Chair, I just wanted to.
Mr. Woodson, Mr.
Sorry,
Johnson.
just, I want to make sure we have the dates right. I might have misheard. It's 30 days from yesterday when apparently the resignation letter was filed with the city clerk.
Yes.
You wouldn't count that date. There's 3 days left this month, so I believe the 30th day would be the Thursday, the 27th.
Yes.
Not to, I might have heard somebody say the 28th. I
Correct.
think it's the 27th.
31 days.
So that should mark that date to retain your jurisdiction. Obviously, if you meet on, it's your decision how far to go. You meet on the 11th, you make an appointment, you had 2 weeks to spare. Whatever you decide on that is your decision.
You forgot the 31st day of January.
Mr. Woodson?
No comment.
So there's a motion. Is there any further debate on that one? All right. We take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
The opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so we're going
Roll
to,
call.
it's already been passed.
It's been several times and I was muted.
We didn't have a meeting. All right, so the vote's been made. The application will be due on the 7th, February 7th, by 4 p.m. Interviews will be had on the 11th. 6 o'clock, guys?
It's just a problem, to be honest.
We can set the time, well, it has to be, so it's in here. 6 p.m. The 6 p.m. work for everybody?
Yes.
In the event that there are more than 15 applicants, the board will hold a second interview date on. Well. Are we good with that?
And 12 is on Wednesday. It might be a committee meeting.
It's fine. We're gonna do, it's just a vote. It says, second interviews. Added to it.
12, that's,
And we'll vote on the final selection. We could do that the following week. Making sure we have everything. So. What we have here is applications will be open until the 7th, Friday of next week. The board will meet on the 11th, Tuesday, the 11th at 6 p.m. To interview candidates. If there are more than 15 applicants, we can meet the following night, 12th. And then we can take a week to decide,
We think we have to.
unless you guys want to decide.
No, depending on the number of applicants, could we decide on the 12th?
On the 12th.
I mean, sooner, depending on what you set up with the state on training. Maybe one on Saturday the next night, call a special meeting the next night. And depending on the number of applicants you have to then. So we should leave ourselves flexible. That's not going to be in the notice. It's not going to be decided.
You're gonna have interviews
You
and you're
want
like
to vote, I'm sorry.
on all this.
They want to vote the same night. It depends on what you put in your agenda.
Yeah.
I would simply pick an end date. The board will vote on the final selection special meeting, not Labor Day.
there you go.
I'm
So now
sorry, I
that's
didn't
it.
hear what the attorney just said. Can you repeat that?
He suggested that we, vote on the final selection on a special meeting not later than a certain date. So we can say if we want to do it not later than the 19th, that way we can just, is that what you're saying?
I did, and now
Okay.
I'm gonna correct myself.
Okay.
Because that makes sense operationally for you. That could put you in a problem if, God forbid, something arises. You don't want to lose your full ability under the charter to go to the 27th.
Right.
So I don't know that you need
Not
to
later than the
advertise
27th.
the date. There's no reason to say when you're gonna make your final selection. You could say, we will make our final selection and appointment not later than February 27th. And you can do it.
That's
anytime.
smart. I agree.
I would like to suggest another motion, just for, just in case. Because we haven't been through this process before, a motion to instruct the superintendent to post it to the board website, Parent Square, and press release to media outlets.
I already,
Oh, you did
I
it?
already talked to him and he's gonna have that.
Okay, okay, so never mind, all right, sure.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it's.
So it will be posted by the superintendent's office, online and, through media. So, most likely to make a post, have it posted.
And Facebook.
Sure, Facebook. All right. Everything's good? All right, so that's it. We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
It's 6 p.m. We're ending the meeting. Thank you.
Perfect.